can't tell the story of a person of color. I'm not a person of color, but I can amplify. I can be an
Yes.
ally. And so, Lauren,
Yes.
I'd love to hear what moment brought you to being an amplifier and an ally in the fight
Yes.
for justice and equity.
Well, and I love that illustration, Holly, because it's something that people can grasp. And when we talk about some of these broad concepts of freedom and liberty and, certainly the civil rights movement as a whole, sometimes I think it's hard to understand how we can amplify and bring action to these emotional topics and these, broad concepts. And so looking for opportunities for action is where I was last year when George Floyd was murdered. And, I think this might resonate with certainly people curious about the liberty movement. I had voted Republican for a really long time because the economic principles, appealed to me. But, the divisiveness among the two parties was so front and center during George Floyd's murder and so much of this civil unrest in our country last year. And I can't do this anymore. It is not enough for me to be a good listener. It is not enough for me to support my Black and brown friends. And I live in Houston. We're a very international community. I also work closely with veterans. And Holly, you can attest to this. Certainly in the veteran community, it's a great equalizer. You see people from all walks of life. We've had the opportunity to work and love and cherish and be friends and family with people from different perspectives and different worldviews. And that includes people from, the Black, Indigenous, and persons of color, those communities. So when I was sitting there thinking, what can I do to take action, to not just be an ally in name, but to put my money where my mouth is and to do something that's meaningful, that was really where the concept of People for Liberty came to life. We had these groups that were, exchanging ideas about liberty, sharing information about George Jorgensen as a candidate. And I said, we need to take more action. And for me, that was breaking the cycle of the duopoly, that you heard one narrative pitting against another narrative, but no true action, no true allies. It was we're against them against us. And I said, if I want to be an ally, I have to find a place and a path to meaningful action that has nothing to do with politics today. If I was to take action in a way that resonated with my values for individual responsibility, personal liberty, and taking action in voluntarism,
Yes.
what does that look like?
Absolutely. I think seeing it in action, and specifically, we're talking here about liberty and individual liberties. And there's a huge correlation that I think is starting to really come to light. I know for myself, I was still, in serving as a federal employee, and I became a co-chair for the Black and African American Employment Strategy Team. After George Floyd was murdered, I said, okay, where is our action? What are we doing? And
yes, as allies.
And we came together, and a great group of a great team was built. And fighting for equity and justice, but also identifying where individual liberties are limited.
Yes.
Going through policies and laws was not the most exciting. And I think it's important to persevere through this. There's so much. I think, in part of this broadcast, we're talking about Juneteenth, but it's not over. It's not finished. There's still so much more work to do